this journey we'll guide inside the ride where we fly. Virtual roads touch the sky. Join us here, don't be shy. Inside the ride, yeah, we hide.
Welcome to Inside the Ride by MyWhoosh. It feels like the morning after the night before. There's a couple of days now, or a day, 2 days. How many days after, Matt, after the World Champs is this? I've lost count.
Yeah, mate, I got no idea. I don't know what day it is. I don't know what time zone we're in. I don't know anything at the moment. I think all of us have had about 6 hours sleep in the last 4 days. We did it. We got through it. We had some fun. We saw some pretty cool racing.
We saw some very cool racing, and we are going to have a couple of the athletes that I'm going to bring into the show very soon. Joshua Harris and James Barnes are going to be with us to talk about that event from an athlete's perspective as well. But yeah, maybe we should have a chat about the ups and downs and the roller coaster of the week running up to it, and then the day from our perspective, because it was an interesting couple of days.
Yeah, it was like we'd planned out, let's call it the sporting side of this for such a long time, and we knew how the points were supposed to work and what trainers we were using and the courses and how the athletes we expected the race to go. All of that was, I thought we had that locked away, and I think we did, and we'd done so much rehearsals and, you know, testing and all of that type of stuff. But when I walked in there on, I think it was Thursday afternoon was the first time we got to the venue, I'm like, oh, this is a bit bigger than I was expecting.
I'm glad you said that. I had the same thought, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, what's going on here? This isn't just a garage sort of sport event here. This is and this was the nicest thing that anybody said to me all weekend, and I heard it from multiple people. This feels like a real World Championships. Yeah. And I think that's how it started to feel to me on Thursday. We can let the audience a little bit in on that Thursday night. We were preparing, we had all the pods in, we had stuff happening, and we had a lot of the local cycling community there to test. Shout out to everybody from the local community that did come along. I think we did 20 test sessions, and we had nearly the same group the whole way through. And they came in at, I think, 6 on Thursday night. They didn't get on the bikes, on the pods till 1 a.m.
Yep.
1 a.m. they got on the pods, and we started our first live testing, and everyone sat there, they all pitched in, they all helped. So that's when the excitement just really started to build. We had then the back-end team pulling together all of the game things and running tests and then it just built and built and built and built from there. And then not a lot changed to me until we got to Sunday. It's till Saturday afternoon, I think. We'd done a bit of, the guys and the girls had come in the morning, and then it was showtime.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny, right? Because I've never been involved in an event of that scale from the inside. You know, you go to concerts and you go to, you know, just thinking about some other events that do this, football matches, you know, they do this week in, week out on that, you know, with hundreds or tens of thousands of people at these events. But then just we were trying to manage the technical aspect, you know, all the connections, all the mechanical aspects as well, the bike changes, which was the area we've got to make sure we got right for the athletes as well. But then you've also got the production staff and the presenters wanting to do their rehearsal for the show and the lights and the entertainment of it as well. So it was really interesting from that point of view. And then you've got the exhibition with the stands and the booths going on. I don't know about you, but I didn't actually take it in as a show. I've got an 8-hour flight home, so I'm thinking I'm actually going to have to watch it's like a 6-hour show, I think, in the end.
I didn't see very much of the women's race. I was running around and checking everything was okay, but I did sit and watch the final stage of the men's race.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I sat out in the crowd and I watched it and got excited and felt part of it, and I just sat and relaxed and looked and just not breathed a sigh of relief, but just went, we did this, and we did this really well. It was, you know, it was exciting. Everyone knows, you know, I'm probably too straight and honest sometimes, and if it went bad, I would sit here and say that it went bad, but it was awesome. It was, I don't want to do it again because I'm scared we can't do it that well. Like that's a little bit how I feel this morning.
I was talking about that with my admin team that we were working with as well, that I think we've set the bar pretty high. I mean, we'll chat to these two in a second about that, but it felt to me like the technical stuff that I was worried about, you know, managing the stage with the team and stuff, not amazingly, but it went so smoothly, right? We got all 22 trainers connected, secondaries, heart rates, no failures from that point of
No.
view, which was the concern and the worry that I had from that point of view.
Definitely.
But then I'm thinking, I watched the guys, because the guys upstairs were watching it back again as well. I'm like, you realise, guys, that we've got to be here or higher next time around as well. And we've already been chatting this morning and over lunch today about what does it look next time.
Yeah, and we might talk about that with the guys today about next year. But for everyone listening, it's not a bad idea to go through sort of maybe how we did it technically, so people understand. So we had the elite trainers, which were fantastic, connected to the gateways through to a box that someone calls a LAN or something. I have no idea, everybody, into a switch. And we, in probably 20,000 kilometres of testing, we never had one trainer failure. No dropouts, no anything. So anybody at home wants to know how to make their system work really well, use a gateway. That's one big learning.
The interesting thing out there, when we were doing that testing, I remember being in the gym where we were doing all the testing with the riders, and I rode a couple of those test events, just seeing these coils and coils of Ethernet cable to do this.
Yep.
And I never thought anything of it. And then I realised we were actually physically testing the cables that we were going to be using at the event.
Yeah, at the right lengths and everything. Yeah. That's the level we went to. But Magine came on board, as we spoke about. They got our heart rate sorted, so we didn't drop any of those, and they were just Bluetoothed in. We had secondary power meters set up for our verification system if required. They all Bluetoothed in and connected. So I don't think it's been successful anywhere in the past to have that many people on the stage. I'm not saying we've done it differently or better than others have. We got it to work. I think we've set the standard that this can be done, that we can build on esports in live environments again.
Yep.
And then it's on to next year now.
Well, I'll tell you what. Let's get these two in and have a chat about their experience from an elite rider's point of view. And so, welcome Josh and James, or can we call it James or Barney? What do you prefer?
Whichever you want.
I know we've been on a podcast before, right? So I know we've got to watch the rabbit holes that you infamously like to go down. But it'd be really good just to get a bit of a. I mean, also you guys had you definitely, Barney, had some of the longest flight, I guess, out of most of the athletes.
23 hours.
23 hours.
So Queenstown, 3 hours, 6 hours Sydney, 14.5 hours Abu Dhabi, 5 a.m. Wednesday morning, I think it was. Was it Wednesday morning, Joe?
Oh, it's too long ago now.
You two were on the same flight. The second leg of your flight was the same, right?
It was, yeah.
So all the Aussies and the New Zealanders joined together in Sydney, and then apart from poor Mary Kate, and got caught and missed her flight, and then had a bit of hassle and stress, and then shame but then she arrived and got a flight to Dubai, and then driven down, so she wasn't too far behind us.
That was Kate that happened to.
Yeah. So imagine that now, before Worlds, you're now stressing about that. You've got to get to the airport and your flight's cancelled.
I did. Oh, yeah. Okay. I heard that it happened to somebody. I didn't.
Yeah. Well, Kate's dad was on your flight. She missed it or whatever.
He flew a separate flight, Auckland to Sydney.
Right. And it was her Auckland to Sydney flight.
It was the Auckland to Sydney flight that was cancelled. And then it's 9 hour, and then it's a 9-hour time difference. So when you say you don't know what time zone you are, I don't know. I have no idea.
So maybe start with you, Josh. You both of you are relatively new to MyWhoosh over the last sort of few months. But done a lot of racing, athletic things in the past. You qualify from semi-finals. What happens from there? Do we train specifically for the event, and then take us through, leaving Launceston to head to Abu Dhabi? What did you expect? What was run us through it.
Yeah, so making that top 20 for the final was just such a carrot. So I spent so many weeks leading up, training specifically for the event on the routes that were going to be used in the event. As you say, I haven't done many SRCs of late. So when I jumped back in, I was kind of fully invested on those courses, trying to learn the dynamics of what was going to happen. And so, to make the 20 was the initial goal. And then I guess it was like a mini repeat of that same process again to come to the final. Once we got the trainers at home to practice on, then I was again fully on board, practicing the routes on the trainer, knowing what it's going to feel like on the day. And I think little things like that helped a good ride on Saturday. And from my perspective, the whole event has been phenomenal. From every aspect of it, meeting everyone, seeing the sights around the place, and then just the setup on the day was just next level, and something that I hope to be able to do again. It was just that awesome. Yeah, I loved it.
I'm kind of really interested also on your prep, because I remember seeing one of your Instagram posts, right, with the numbers. This is what you thought you'd hit in the semis, and then what you actually hit. And they were pretty close, but also, but then also, if I look at your stage 1 result, and I think you picked up a time and moved yourself up significantly on a later lap to everyone else.
Yeah.
And I remember I heard the shout and yell and screaming it was you with your arms in the air because you moved yourself up. So how much planning went into not just the numbers, but understanding the dynamics of that route?
Yeah.
And did you have to change that plan based on
Yeah.
that moment that happened on stage that we've got to talk about at some point, right, for lap 1?
Yeah, 100%. From the moment these courses become available, I think in June or July, I jumped in the practice races on stage 1, and I knew where that start line was and a rough speed that you want to hit that at, and did a lot of training to know that you need to hit your speed early, even if that means blowing up later on towards the finish line there. Anyway, my plan for stage 1 was always just one and done. The energy that it required was too much, in my opinion, to try twice. If that was 20th, then so be it. And then, lap 1, we came around and we were doing 0 watts a kilo. You guys thought we'd had dropouts.
Proper game of chicken.
And we came off the banking and I saw our speeds were around 30 kilometres an hour. And in a few seconds' time, you want to be at 60. And in that split second, I thought, they're not gonna get there. And I was at the front as well in a bad position, and I just rolled through while everyone sprinted. I saw the 3 Americans go past, and as soon as I saw that, I clapped my hands. I was like, "Yep, well done. That's 1, 2, 3." And from that point, I was quite scared because I thought this might have been a big risk here that I've taken. And I saw the women's race prior. After their first sprint, they all just basically rolled around single file, and I thought maybe I could, if the men do the same, I can pick up that draft on the next lap if I start far enough back. And then I basically did that, ramped it up, came through the group, and I'm one of the worst sprinters in the field, I'd imagine, but just hit the start line far quicker than what they would have the lap prior, and got myself up to 5th. So yeah, it was great.
And so that's interesting, and I think we'll talk about the men stopping just quickly now, and then we'll get back to how I thought that would play out. So for people that haven't watched the broadcast yet, the men all started and then stopped, and no one was moving anywhere, all looking at each other, basically doing track stands just before the sprint started. In the velodrome.
Doing proper track.
And this was not planned. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, I thought of every single scenario here. This was not one of them, right? And so everyone stops and then they go. Funny thing is, the women's times would have placed them well within the men's points because the women actually hit it at a different speed. And I told a few people last night, and I'll say it today, I know exactly how the fastest way to get through that is. And the fastest way to do it is to launch at the top of the rise and go past 5 or 6 people through the 300 metres and back off about 70 metres out. And that sounds like
but that's what
you
Josh
did.
Basically got right. And then that's where it was panic stations behind. You said you had the whole admin team and this, and people just running around backstage like, hey, there's dropouts, what's going on? And it's like, nah, it's also one of the scenarios that I thought of was going to happen in the race is that
really
everybody's going to play chicken for that first, because again you got the big blob draft and you want as much draft as possible. And
I think that the fact that it's points based allows that to happen, but it also flips into this. Is it sport or game sometimes, right? So the gamification of what we're doing came into it because everyone had to think about the dynamics, about the timing, about all of those things. So the people that have thought about it, practiced it, had learnt the game. And whether you play Mario Kart or whatever it is, there's an advantage in knowing the game. You can be as good as anybody else, but if you have that advantage. And I think when we talk about the difference between indoor and outdoor racing, indoor you can learn and manage that, or esports racing, you can manage that a little bit better, I think.
And that's where you get as well, like guys like Josh being able to do really good sprints because he was able to manage his effort in such a way the second time round and line it up in such a way that he had pretty much draft the whole way through. And, when I tried as well for the second time round, I got going, got through people, and then the last like 150 meters there was no people, so I just realized also I'll just stop.
Yeah.
Because there's no point, as you said, as Josh was saying as well, there's no point putting yourself in debt for later on, which then puts you at a deficit and then at, like, you know, and that as well.
It's interesting. The only part of the women's race that I saw through the running around, I was standing watching Catherine Fura, and I was standing there with Michael, her partner, and he's watching it, and she sprinted once and she didn't go very well. She was like 17th or 18th. And Michael turns to me, he goes, I hope she doesn't do this again. She's going to hurt herself if she does. She did, and I get why she did. I would have, in the heat of the moment, I would have done the same thing. And Michael Kaminsky did it in the men's as well. I don't know whether it's panic, or whether he thought the times are not very fast here, I'm going to have another go at it. And I think it took Catherine a little bit longer to come back from that in the second stage.
Yeah. And that you can see that as well in the way that she rode. And you know, and Sai was also here gloating at us last night that his times were faster than all of ours. You know, he walked. He was sprint king. He was like, I am like, you know, I was faster than all you guys. Like, sheesh, how does that?
I actually would have run top 5.
Are you going to come next year, mate?
No.
No,
that's not happening.
Yes, I am.
I wouldn't get beyond stage 1.
And Phil Graves that works with us, he's now on a diet. Everybody, Phil wants to race next year. The work was way too hard. He decided he thinks the easiest way to get through this is to race. So Phil's on the comeback. Allegedly, although he did buy a box of chocolates at lunchtime today.
Yeah,
But like again, like it for me, it's also a huge shout out to the team, like guys like Phil running around. You know, thanks, Dad, as the joke, basically running around like but like huge kudos to like the production team that like we sadly never got to, like for me didn't get to meet the admin team, the guys behind the screens. You know, the effort that you guys did. Like, no dropouts. No issues on the bikes. Never once did we have somebody hands up with an issue. Faultless. And like again, the whole experience since getting here has just been unbelievable, and it's been great to get to meet you guys, get to meet, see the whole thing as well, and and again, lucky enough we get to see Abu Dhabi as well. I was lucky enough to see some sites. You saw some this morning as well, which was awesome. Yeah,
and thanks for that, because it's a really nice thing to acknowledge the work that went on in the back end.
Yeah.
It's really easy for Sai and I to take credit for this because people see us as the sort of faces of this, but like the amount of people we had driving trucks around picking up stuff from warehouses, and the last minute, someone hasn't got a bike, or we've only got 18 dongles, where are we getting the other 2? Like it just the stuff like that the team backed up. And then the development team, the amount of work that they're done, and then what is essentially Sai's team now upstairs are sitting monitoring each rider and all of these different things in the background. They're not watching any of the race, and they sort of didn't get to enjoy the night either. But then we've got Sai running one side of the stage, Bart running the other side of the stage, and we had this chain of command, and it worked. What we did, it all came together, and
I think because we'd rehearsed it so many times,
it was natural and easy.
It was really easy, and the admin team is superb, and I think they get racing more and more. And they've been involved in the SRC for such a while, and the classics, and
like it was like quickly, like there was like one moment before like the guys went up, we were all lighting up, but like I saw the end of the women's race from the back behind one of the admin team. Seeing those guys all cheering them on from behind, it was it was so awesome. It's like for me, it's like it's great to see the passion of esports and riding, and like you're saying the gamification, but it's like seeing how the whole thing growing, and like this is what Sieb's first time, like he broke both of his hands earlier this year, has now just discovered it, and he's like, this is awesome. And then he's also talking about the camaraderie and stuff as well. Like you saw all of us at the end, like we can talk about it later or talk about it now if you want to go down that rabbit hole. And it's like, and he's like, you don't get this and he's like, for me this is awesome. Like if this is how it normally is, like I want more of it. And that's what I think all of us, we've had discussions about it, Matt and like Sai, and like all of us, we have this passion to grow this sport. And it's like that whole thing is like, it's like a big high school reunion when we all get you together. It's just like a whole bunch of mates getting together, and that's the thing like I really loved about it. It's like that purity of the sport, and the purity. Everybody wants the best for it and wants to grow it. There's no competition. There's no like, I'm better you, or like there's here everybody wants to put the best show on, perform as best they can, and like drive this as far forward.
It was interesting. Everyone was mates. The ladies, the men, everyone was laughing and joking and hugging and cheering each other on, and that was a really good aspect of it. As well from our side, running SRC and having to respond to athletes and things over the last period of time we've been doing this, you sort of start to form opinions on people based on the emails and things that you get, right?
Well, you know the avatars. You don't know. You get to know and
Correct.
finally meet the faces and the voices and like actually.
But it's the same for you guys, right? You're racing someone else you don't really know, and then when you meet these people, they're totally different, right? And so the learning is there's no emotion in email, right? So you got to just let this go. But I met Josh for the first time. We're both Australian, and straight away we're just having a chat like everything was normal. My daughter thinks he's some sort of legend. I don't know why. She had to get a photo after the race.
Were like stoked. I felt like a hero.
Look, my daughter thinks you're important, mate. So that's
And I tell you, those two have done more testing and riding on that platform than anybody else, right?
Yeah, but your daughter was involved in the testing as well, which is awesome.
Yeah, my daughter, she's 14, and and my son, he's 16. They were here for all. I think my son missed one, but my daughter did every single test.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, the funny thing is I can't get her to ride any other time, and if she come down here and laugh and joke and get free coffees and things out of the machine, she was in for it. But yeah, it was. I actually wasn't expecting that camaraderie. I'll be honest. I didn't see everyone for the first couple of days, and I walked over to the hotel because I had to do a media interview, and everyone's just sitting on the couch at the front, and everyone's having a chat, and Lionel's like, "Come over," and it was a really good vibe, and I think next year we need to facilitate that even more. I think we need to have some sort of group thing before the event, rather than waiting till after and everyone's a bit burnt out and things like that. So I think in order for the sport to grow, we're all in this together. Yeah. And that's what I wanted to get out of it, that the athletes knew that's what we want as well. We're not a faceless business. We didn't want to win this contract for the sake of winning this contract. And I think there was a bit of, why did these guys get it from the UCI very early on? And I think people go, like, this is why they got it. They actually have a plan. They've got some thought. There's some brains behind trying to lift this up. And I think we've taken a step. I really do.
Yeah,
and I think set the bar very high.
I hope so. Yeah, I think we have. But again, we also did a lot of learning for the last couple of days. Like you said, just having the athletes, the way they interacted before, even the way they came out on stage, right? And seeing Hayden and Lionel put the fists up and as if they're having a battle.
Did you see KK's one this morning?
Yeah,
she had the Hulk Hogan thing. She had the whole Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, but I didn't see it until the production this morning. But it's things like that, and like the hugging after. I'm not sure. I haven't seen the production yet, but I'm not sure if that was picked up on the cameras. I'm sure, and I hope it was. But it's those things that we didn't expect, because like you say, you just don't get it on the road or even on the track or other events. So we got to show more of that as well. So these are all learnings that I hope we're definitely going to take as a team from a production point of view. But
we get back to the racing for a minute as well, rather than the show. The racing, I think, was awesome. Okay, so take the women's race, and you've got Kate, who looked like was battling a little bit. Gabriella's she's in front for a bit of it. There's a bit of toing and froing. The lead's getting eaten away at. And it came to the last sprint. Whichever one of them crossed the line first won the World Championship. So they would have finished on equal points.
And then count back, basically.
And whoever was the first to cross the line would have won on count back. And Kate was not quite there the lap before. She wasn't going forward. She got good points, but she was going backwards. And then she said to me, as she said last night, she said, I knew my last sprint would be my best one. Her dad was in the crowd and he's cheering and all of that. And then you go to the men's race. Now, Jason was clearly the strongest bike rider, deserved to win. Yeah. Don't get me wrong in any way, shape or form, but actually played the game not as well as he could have. I think he was 17th after stage one. I could see the stress on his face. He was not happy. And then he's come back to that. Jason did not lead that event until he crossed the line.
Yep.
He was never in front of points until he crossed the line. And it was between him and Lionel the whole way. And you could see Lionel was there, and this is great. And then Jason's gone. Lionel's made the decision. He said to me, I tried to follow for 5 seconds. And he said, I knew if I did it, my race was over. Yeah. And then he thought I could get the next few sprints and I'd be okay. And he goes, and then we just hit it, and everyone went past me. But I was also talking to him last night, and I said, where was the bit that hurt you? Where did it go wrong for Lionel? And he said, stage 2. He said, we're coming. Jason's gone. He was with Bjorn Anderson, I think. Yep. He said Bjorn Anderson wasn't working with him. I get it. I wouldn't have either. He said, but the problem was I was scared to death of Hayden Pucker. Hayden's 5 seconds behind me. He goes, I did not. He goes, I was super scared of that guy. No one knew what was going to happen with Hayden Pucker. Let's be honest.
Well,
right?
And here's Josh hanging on for dear
Oh,
life.
yeah,
You
you
should
were
have
with him,
seen
weren't
him.
you?
Like,
I crested the hill before Hayden, and I looked at the numbers, and I was like, okay, Hayden and I are away. This is the man you want to be with for the last 3K. But the problem was he caught me as we started that descent, and so he's came past faster, and I've had to just absolutely sprint to get that wheel.
All
And
86
I
kilos of
just
it.
saw that green draft number, and I was like, yes.
I'm in.
But then from there were so many moments in that last 3K. Like, I wasn't working with him. Like, he's got so
let him
many
do
more raw watts than me.
Yep.
So it's interesting that you say those guys were scared of us catching, because I was scared of getting dropped and the 5 or 6 behind me catching me and losing those points as well. So everyone had similar thoughts in that. And Hayden was a lot to do with those thoughts.
Yeah, he goes, let's have a quick chat about Hayden, right?
So
we've
what
got
a
this-
nice guy. Sorry, I've got to start. Like, like first time out of America. Like, what a nice dude. Sorry. Okay, carry on. But
No,
like,
that's exactly what a nice kid, right? 22-year-old, from what I gather, is the middle of nowhere in the USA.
Yep.
I'm not sure he's ever been out of his own town, let alone out of America. He's private messaging me all week, asking things that you think that normal people know. I didn't realise at the time he's 22. I've never met or spoken to this guy at this point. We've seen all these numbers and this rumours of this guy that everybody, let's be honest, including me at some point, didn't believe those numbers, okay? So we get this guy's massive bloke turns up, and I'm like, we better reinforce this pod, okay?
no, not just the pod, the floor.
The floor,
Yeah, we did debate that with the screws. Do we need to get some longer bolts on those?
And he's come in on this. I think the first time I actually met him was on Saturday morning, and he's jumped on his bike, and I'm just chatting to him. Look, Dan, he's doing 700 watts talking to me, and I thought, oh my God, this is. Anyway, I honestly felt. I said to him last night, I thought that he'd be a deer in headlights. I thought that he'd panic. He'd get it all wrong. We'd have to answering questions about that power wasn't real and all that. But what a show he put on. Like, what a great guy, great future in whatever avenue he takes in this sport.
Oh, yeah.
But you walk away and you go, I really hope he makes something of what he has. You know, he's doing SRC and he's joking on the chat and he's got all these energy drinks lined up, and he burnt out 2 trainers that were not elite trainers. They were spare ones that we had from the warehouse for everyone to do SRC, and he's got, I think he had more fans keeping his trainer cool than himself. Anyway, shout out to Hayden. Thanks for coming, mate. If you see this, I think we're all better for the experience of Hayden Pucker, aren't we?
Yeah. Loved him.
But that's also as well, like taking, like, I've lucky enough had Singapore as well before this, is like, and that's one thing. And I said, like, talking to Hayden literally before he was going, like, saying goodbye, and it's like, you can take this experience and do something with it and like drive it home and like drive the passion and go for it. Or you can make the mistake of just letting it go, and then it's a memory.
Yep.
Yeah, and then that's where I'm hoping again. Like I said, like you can see you can see him now. He's just like, this is awesome. Like, this is great. And like, and that's also, you see a lot of the other riders, you know, Josh as well, like first time you and I meeting as well. We've raced many years and had many a great battle. You know, first time I met Tom and Dan on my team as well. Like, we were racing before as well. 4 years, never met the people. Like, you know, and that's it's that whole thing as well. It's like, doing these live events is so awesome, because it's that not just the validation of everybody's the same trainers, everybody's got the same weigh in, and all that, like that, it's that, but it's like everybody gets to actually meet the people behind it and and get together, which is awesome.
And talking about trainers and things, I was thinking last night, SRC last week at home.
Yep.
Saturday night, our trainers. Yep. Sunday, pulling together whatever trainers we could find laying around here in the warehouse. Everyone's on a different bit of kit that we could find. And everyone always accused everyone's trainers read high and this, that, and the other. Yeah. Same group of people, 3 different trainers, same results.
Yeah.
Right? So I actually think that helps validate the sport a bit more as well. And so, a lot of fun involved in that. But even on the ladies' side, it was so nice to engage and to chat to some of them. I've gravitated a little bit more to the men's side through the SRC times maybe, and Lisa looks a little bit more after the ladies' side for us. But I think it was Pia I was talking to. She had this awesome kit on in the warm up, right? And I'm like, it was like this camo pink thing she had, and I'm like, that's cool. okay, warming up. And then I get a message that afternoon. She goes, I've ordered you one of those kits.
So you're going to be wearing pink camo?
Yeah, pink
Definitely
camo.
going to bring out your eyes, mate.
Yep. It was cool.
We have to see photos of it online.
Yeah. But it's just nice. Just, so much fun. I don't feel that anybody felt unwelcomed. I never felt unwelcomed by anybody at any point. Everybody wanted to have a chat. But I also didn't get, and I was expecting to pull me aside and go, oh, you need to do this better and this is not right. And there was just none of that. There was some great conversations around what do we do
Awesome
better. And I think
conversations,
it was you, Barney, said last night that why don't we all just have a Zoom call or something every couple of months and talk about racing and talk about what
what
we're going to do. And I'm like, let's do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And we had a lot of those chats last night, right? But it's in that environment, it's not forced, and there's I think a lot of great ideas and just the engagement from everybody wanting to move it forward.
And a lot of passion. Like, it's a lot of raw passion from people that just want the best for the sport, just like moving it forward. Like, again, it's coming back to there's no competition between the platforms. There's no we all want the best for it, and we all want to drive the sport forward. We want to see the growth of the sport. We want to see more people on bikes, more people doing stuff, and it's just
I had to think about that, and I was thinking, how do we continue to build on what we did? And I was talking to Si this morning. I don't know whether we can get this done, but I think next year we need to align some age group world championships with this as well at the same time. Because I really wanted to race the other night.
I think everybody wanted to race by the end of it. Like, even Peter was like, he was frothing. He was like,
Peter Scarn loved it, didn't he?
He was
He was like pointing, and he's like,
again, it's like one of those things as well. Like, once people learn and understand it, it's like just the light goes on and they see how, and then it's again, you don't need a fancy bike. You just need a trainer. You need to meet obviously you need there's some criteria, but like, you can do it from your living room, from your garage, from your thing. There's people doing Sunday race clubs in their holiday homes just to but that's insane. Like, you can do it anywhere. You don't have to have a team car and this and that, and you don't have to travel miles. You can get in. Sometimes, unfortunately, there's time zone issues, like for Josh and myself, but putting that aside, man, you can, that's the beauty for me about esports racing.
I agree. I think as the UCI have said, shout out to them too. They were just fantastic.
Jacob and the team,
Jacob and Sam were supportive along this whole road. It's actually not great that they're not here today to celebrate with us, because they've been as big a part of this as anybody. But Scott, the commissaire that came in, he was awesome, and I actually think he was as excited as any of us watching it, because he said that, I don't know how this is going to unfold. So it was that big sort of group environment that we have. But what I think we've got to make sure that we do is not become this insular group of the people that came here, and that we're not spreading it out further now. And that's why I think I'd like to do something in the future to do.
Bringing in age groups remotely, I think is a good way.
Awesome. But also, again, shout out to the elite guys. Like, they were all here and such nice guys.
Do you know?
And they again, same thing. Once they saw it and they saw the guy and they're like, again, it's like, we want to get this going. We want to get this growing forward. So we're looking forward to the next one, and then hopefully they continue the partnership going forward. Those trainers are great to ride. I really enjoyed riding it. It suits my riding style, and that again, those gateways,
perfect.
Not a dropout. It's mind blowing. You have 20 riders. There's lights, there's Bluetooth, there's everything, and they're not one issue.
Did you get the gateway I stole for you? Did Hayden?
No, didn't steal it. No, graciously gave it. Jeez, come on.
I remembered as we were leaving, and I ran up to a trainer, and I just unplugged it and took it out. So you've got the only one in New Zealand now, mate.
Yeah, no, I got the only one in New Zealand. So I appreciate that.
No, but the elite guys, they were amazing. We didn't actually even ask them to come here. So they came here of their own. Wow. They paid their own way. Awesome. They did their own thing. But what got me about is they didn't just come in to take the claim on the last day. They were there for every rehearsal, every testing session that we did all week. They sat on chairs till 1 and 2 o'clock in the morning in case they were needed. The only work they actually did was when we were bolting the trainers down, they leveled them properly. That's all that they actually did the whole time. But they were there the whole time. All 6 of them were there. It was amazing. Their CEO came and he just sat there with it. Marco did stay up till 4:30 in the morning with us after the event. We won't go into that.
Yeah, but what like chats, like you can just have what great, like he's good for his chat.
Yeah.
He's so good for it.
Well,
Yeah.
I was in the taxi home with them last night, and they really want to talk to the athletes, because you made a comment to me about sprinting on those justos,
Yeah,
right, and the
yeah.
way that they spin up. So I know that they want to speak to you guys to get that kind of feedback, because they're just really keen to help move the sport forward and move what they're doing forward as
And
well.
I think again that's what this whole event and this thing showcases. If you talk like I don't know if it, like it's that whole like again getting those companies and those other companies as well that were here, and then Jim Rail and some were also like they want to like also they see, and then again they just want to like hopefully again we see that connection and that growth in the sport. Like I don't know what else you got to say, Josh, but like I could keep going down rabbit holes.
Yeah, everything about the event's just been fantastic, and I think Matt, before you said something about like you're expecting to get some feedback on this and that, and I think that's the sign that shows it, because I hadn't even thought about that until then. So that just shows there's, in terms of negative feedback, there's none, like, which shows how good the event has been.
That's unreal.
Yeah.
It's good to hear. So let's touch on next year quickly. We've got to do this again.
Juicy gossip, yeah.
Yeah, I've got, we now. We've got a lot bigger team than when we first set out in this, so it's certainly be a team thing. And I think we include some of the athletes along this journey now as well. We've got a couple of options. Do we, and I don't know where we'll go with this, do we run exactly the same as what we had, so everybody knows what to expect, learns the point system, trains specifically, but it doesn't show innovation and it doesn't show, the more new things that MyWhoosh and this, not just MyWhoosh, but esports capable? Do we dumb it down, and do we make it what will be more acceptable, not acceptable, but more simple for the entertainment side for
Like
people at
easier to
home?
follow, yeah.
Like easier to follow, but then that probably makes poor racing for the athletes. Or do we continue to go on this crazy idea, that we did this year that just worked out perfectly, and continue to innovate and try something new? I think that's where I'd like to go. But I think we've all got to have a think and a talk. And where are you guys at?
I think I agree with the third point. At this stage in my esports career, I'm very used to formats changing all the time and then adapting to that and training specifically for whatever format is then thrown at you. So I know that's what I did this year. And so if there was a different format, then that's what I try to adapt to next year. And at the end of the day, it's similar in a way. Like it might suit a different rider type next year, but you're still going to be able to prepare your best for whatever that format is.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I completely agree. Like I think the format like really good. Like again, you could just change the courses slightly,
Yeah.
and then again you could do it the courses ever so slightly, which then could favor a different rider. But then again, the changing of the formats and talking that comes down to the nuances of like the specialties of the esports riders, understanding the dynamics, understanding how weighting the powers, and when to use the power, when to use the draft, and how to use it to you as your avatar is your best advantage.
Yeah.
Understanding the pack dynamics, understanding the trainers, how the trainers respond. There's not just who can go the hardest and who can go for the longest. Which is what I think I always like to see in the courses and the styles of the racing, is that tactical nuance and that understanding of the platform, not just the guy who's the strongest, which is again what the beauty is we generally see.
I
Yeah.
think that was shown in stage 2 as well, particularly in the final, where in the semis we had that thing where there were 100 riders, nearly 20 different people would have scored at the base compared to at the top, whereas because of how almost everyone scored points in the final, you had to make decisions as to where you thought you'd place in the base and how that would then affect your climb. So you've got to make decisions as you go.
Yep.
And I looked at the results, and because I had a good stage 1, I sacrificed the base a little bit in order to climb and finish well in stage
have
2.
a strong finish in those.
And
bonus
I looked
points
in the
there.
results, and Bjorn and Hayden were right next to me as well.
Right.
So the three of us were able to then climb better than a lot of others that sprinted.
Yep.
And so you've got to make those decisions on the fly. Lionel and Jason did both, but that's because
but
they're able to.
That's what you can do
but
when
they've
you're there.
got-
right?
they've got the motors and they've
Exactly.
they've got the guns, they've got the they've got the.
When I
ammo
looked
for
at the best way to attack the whole course, depending on how the race went, of course, but we've been through this a million times, and to me the move was to not sprint to that point. I think unless you're one of those
What,
two
and you see
legends.
James Bond's going for
Well,
it at the bottom.
But that was going to be my comment because there was only 20 riders, right?
Yeah.
So you going off there at the base of that climb
Yeah.
and then Zach closing,
Yeah.
that could potentially have had a massive impact on the other riders. The way it was set up with the points and where the points paces were, that any one of that 20, if they had teammates like some of the the guys did there, could really impact. Zach
stealing points
could have
Zach
impacted
stealing
the
away
result for
points
Hayden.
From
Can I ask a super dumb question? I saw on the broadcast as I was watching the event that you went. Did you hang on?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
so you got it, did you?
It was weird. I was like, in my head, I was like, again, this whole thing is like, I know I'm not the favorite. This style, like the courses don't suit me down, so I've got to steal points where I can, right?
Yep.
So bottom of the, obviously stage 1 suited me well, but unfortunately the way it didn't. Stage 2, base of the climb, well, there we go. But then the race started and I was like, hey, they're doing 3 watts a kilo, and I'm rolling through the bunch. Well, let's have a crack
Keep
at this.
Okay.
Yeah, then I think that's what you would have hopefully seen from my style of the racing, then in stage 3 as well, literally.
Yeah.
Throw it against the wall, see what sticks.
Yep.
High risk, high reward.
Yep.
Which is
But
how it worked out in the semis, right?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
you were basically sitting 50th or
I'll plumb 0 points.
and then
Yeah,
you
right.
jumped all the way up there just in that final stage to qualify.
The last 2 laps, 51 points in the last 2 laps.
Amazing.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, that was stress and power. That was just... So yeah, that basically is like, finding ways to just the opportunities. And then when Zach then jumped, I was like, oh, please don't bring the bunch with. Please don't. And then luckily the bunch gave it a go and I was like, okay.
Yeah, because you're obviously not riding for the same nation, but you do ride for the same team as well, right? So that might have been difficult if he'd have dragged them over to
Yeah, there might have been. But again, that's the beauty of the racing as well. It's like super dynamic and that's it as well. It's like, and again, it's a live screen as well. So to be honest, I wasn't actually looking at my avatar. I was looking at the broadcast because they had the camera facing backwards.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I could see behind me and I could actually see how much the gap was moving.
Okay.
I
And then once I
noticed that.
saw it 2-3 seconds, I was like, okay, now it's actually established. Now I can face
And
going
go.
forwards and then do that.
Yeah, being able to see the riders was a different element that we're not used
Yeah,
to.
okay.
That's so
I
cool.
recall a moment in stage 3 where I was dropped about 11th or 12th somewhere, and myself and Tom Thrall were together, and I had a look behind me just to see how he was looking, and he looked as tired as I felt. So, it
Well,
was-
we could see from the crowd, we could see Lionel was in trouble
Yeah.
on that last lap. He's head down, he's out of the seat, and the other thing was interesting is I watched a few of the riders because we don't see the people at home normally, right? And looking at the different styles, and I think it was Jason who obviously won the event. I was watching him go up the climb on the second stage, and he's doing like 55 RPM. He's out of the seat.
And out the saddle.
I'd
Yeah.
like to
This
see the average
massive-
cadences of all the riders.
Yeah.
mine was about 58, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, so because I've heard and seen talking to a lot of people, and when we tested Kaminsky and Ollie and that in here sort of 6 months ago, I couldn't believe the low cadence stuff and how it's so different to being on the road. And we were talking about that, and it becomes a trade-off of strength versus fitness, and they're doing gym stuff and all of that. But let's maybe jump on a few numbers for people. Up the climb, you were certainly heading to the front. What sort of watts per kilo were you holding up there?
So I think for the 4-minute climb was about 7.7 weigh-in weight.
Wow. And what about you when you went off the front to pick up that?
Oh, that was about 6-7 watts a kilo, 8. Like that was 450, 500 on average, but like peaking 650. But like to give you an idea, like my sprint was at stage 1 was 900 watts for 30 seconds.
Right.
I peaked 1200 watts for 15 seconds.
Wow.
Is that your
Yeah.
best
I
this year?
didn't-
That's
No,
what you
that
peaked
was
this
like
year? Or?
that was best for like about the last 6 months. But I don't think
Yeah.
I don't think it's all time best, but like
Yeah.
it's
Okay.
it's about that. But again, that's a testament to what we're talking to you about the the way the trainers respond slightly as well. That I can get on top of the gear and I
Yeah.
can hold the gear. So I ride at a normal, like I'm gonna say a normal cadence. I ride on average a 90 cadence, whereas likes of Josh and Tom and them have knees of steel.
Yeah.
That can do that 50 cadence and just drag huge power and
Yeah, I've got to be honest. I like that. If I was anything, I'm a sprinter, and I feel that I can get on top of that elite better than I can anything else.
Yep.
I find some of the other brands, certainly Attacks, I can never get in front of. I feel like I'm riding through sand always.
well, you fall through the floor.
Yeah, where a lot of people that are good pedalers are very smooth on the
Yes.
tacks, but I think the elite suits maybe the more power rider. And just finishing off a little bit, just my thoughts on course design and where we ended up. and this was a bit of the feedback that we got, was that everybody felt that the women's race was more a climbers race. The climbers tended to come to the front of the event versus the power sort of athletes. So Lou was very powerful. Maybe didn't.
Lou, I think Lou rode. I'll kind of question that and say not a pure climbers race. I think it was. Yeah. It was a punching style race, and Lou rode really well. I think she was. If you looked at some of the the laps and stuff, when she would go, she would just. I think her timing was ever so slightly, just slightly different and slightly off. She kept bumping the front, which then that whole thing. If you bump, we were seeing in stage 1 as well. You get bumped to the front, and then you get basically the whole pack riding on top of you, and she lost quite a few points like that. And I think it's one of those things as well. It's a skill
of the game as well, right?
It's a skill of the game. It's just the time.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, Bunny, because looking at it, you're probably right. I've probably not sort of talked enough about it, but I felt it was climbers race for the women and a power race for the men. But then when you think about it, Jason would probably put himself down as a climber.
Yeah, 100%.
Sure.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, so interesting. I think the way it went, I think everyone's happy. I think it was fun. It was
awesome.
fun.
That was so much fun.
It's
I think
fun.
you need to get somebody else to give it from the different point of view.
Yeah. Nice transition there, Bonnie, because we do have 3 guests today, I will say, but I'm not sure the third guest wants to be sat here, man. So, James, if you don't mind, I'd like to get the other guests. James, really appreciate you being with us today, and we'll have a catch up. You were ready to go. He's running.
I'm gone. I'm like out the door, But like, again, massive shout out to the team and massive shout out to like MyWhoosh and and everybody. Great to be here and just have the opportunity to come around Abu Dhabi as well and like explore and just see. We were on the Yas Marina track last night. That was awesome.
You're a car man, so I know
I'm a car man. I'm a plane man.
Right?
So cars going around, had planes going straight overhead. Like I was in my element. Like 16-year-old.
He was that guy looking out the windows at the airport and all the planes.
Yeah. Well, no, coming back to it, like this quick story. It's like Josh was like, "Oh, yeah, I'm at the airport now," because I arrived, I think, like 2 hours before you, and I was like, I said, send in the message, come to Macca's. I'm the guy and you'll see me. Yeah, and like. You walked over and come on, you tell the story.
Yellow compression, full knee length, looking at the planes. First time I met Barney.
Not exactly a sight for not the bay, but at least I stood out and you know exactly who I was. But that's again, massive shout out to everybody involved and really it was great to just come and explore another city and I'm looking for hopefully come back again.
Well, we feel the same as well because I mean I'd said to Matt before the semis, right? I know we've all got not favourites as such, but people that we spoke to in the past, and you and I have spoke a few times on different podcasts as well. James thinks I've got a crush on him basically, and
I know you've admitted it.
I'm a Barney super fan apparently. So for me, it was really great to get you over here because this first time, we spoke plenty of times on WhatsApp and different podcasts and stuff. So for me, it was great to finally meet Barney as well. So. I think we had as much pleasure out of meeting the riders and everybody as you guys had meeting each other as well. So awesome, James, and great socks again as always, buddy.
You know me, always the socks.
And let's bring Kate in, partner of yourself, Josh.
Yeah.
Hello, Kate. How are you?
Hello. Good. Thank you. How are you?
Good. We thought we'd get you on, get a bit of it from the other side, like somebody that actually watched the race. Right, so we didn't really see
I've got to
any
watch
of
you
it.
back.
So we can't wait to hear about that. But Kate was a great supporter of the event. So Kate, unfortunately, was the first reserve and just put a hand up when I said, look, the way this is rolled down, it looks like I need some help here. I really make sure that we've got the right people on the stage. And it was always, I'm coming over with Josh anyway. If you need me to jump on, I'll jump on. And we didn't know whether you would race or not until the briefing sort of the day before. So thank you very much. That would have been the most annoying thing ever for someone like me because I couldn't have coped with am I racing? Am I not? What do I need to do? So from all of us at MyWhoosh, thank you for doing that for us. But I'd love to hear, tell us what you thought. Tell us how it looked, how it felt.
Yeah, I thought it was fantastic. I can't think of a single thing that I could fault, really. The atmosphere in the crowd was something that really stood out to me. Like, I probably wasn't expecting that or just hadn't thought about it so much in the lead up. But, that was fantastic. Like, just all the people cheering and, the atmosphere was really good. the women's race in particular, like obviously I was really keen to watch the men's because of Josh, but yeah, the women's race was fantastic. Like I think that's the most exciting like sporting event that I've ever seen.
Yeah, wow.
I literally forgot like where I was, like everything just blurred out, and I was like so focused. It was like Gabby, Kate, and just watching that was really amazing.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, it was. It felt like that because I did see the last lap. I did see that of the women's race, and I was the same. And I was like, "This is awesome." I sort of forgot that I just became a fan for 5 minutes. It was so and Kate's dad being there, I think was really cool as well.
Yeah.
Like he's front row cheering, and I think there's a picture that Jeff took of coming to the stage and all of that. But it's funny you talk about the crowd because it was one of the concerns I had leading into it. So when you live here for a little while, some things work on Abu Dhabi time. Now that can be everyone turns up at one time to one thing, or nobody turns up at any time for anything, and you never know until the day. And we were up against it a little bit. I think we had T100 triathlon was on in the region. We had UFC was on as well that night, which is huge here, right? It's a huge event. The place was packed that we had. And there was people that you'd looked at and you thought they can't be interested in cycling, and they're standing on their chairs cheering, and it was like, where did this come from?
It was for me. That first women's race, the women's race, it was really difficult because I was that focused on the tension of making sure you guys were all okay on stage, and we got to go through that I was the one going around with doing the verification, right, and asking them check your height and weight and all these different things, making sure we got everything right. So it was really difficult for me to feel there was even a crowd there because I was that focused. And it was that moment in the men's race when, yes, it was going on my ear, but I felt and heard the sort of noise and a rumbling going on from the crowd at the side, and I don't know, you get cold shivers of something had happened in that moment.
Yep.
So I'm really glad that was actually happening. It wasn't just the fear of what's going on in the background with the numbers going to zero.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Yeah, and I feel Josh raced better than expected.
Yeah,
you feel the same?
definitely.
Yeah, so do I.
Yeah.
Yeah,
100%.
yeah.
Like if you had told me you're going to finish 8th in the final after adding stage 1 to the semi-final, I don't think I would have believed it.
Yeah, I sort of had you. We've done some lists and that here, and I'll be honest, I didn't have you up that high.
Yeah.
And then I saw the results from stage 1, and I'm like,
Yeah.
it's going to get better for you from here.
And look, when I saw 4th after stage 2, a couple of the boys were like, podium mate. But like, in my head, I know that stage 3 is not my thing.
Yeah.
So I certainly didn't. Seeing the names around me, I thought that it might be a slow burn off. And it was, but there were lots of stories going on within the stories. Like you mentioned that roar in the crowd. I could hear all of that happening for Jason and Lionel on the last lap, but in my head, I'm watching the leaderboard with Dan Turek and Ollie Jones, who are up the road, and looking at the point score on the side, which the point score, having it there, it's just so handy. But I'm in my own battle while that's all happening as well,
right.
like fully zoned into my trying to hang on to a top 10 because a top 10 sounds better than 11th, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Well, talking about that though, I didn't expect, but there was communication going on. I didn't see too much in the women's race, but in the men's race, there was so much communication going on. And even I think one of the Belgian guys just getting off the bike, and which worried me, so I'm thinking, the heart rate doesn't drop out at that point, which it didn't. But just going to talk to the other riders and their teammates, even watching Teppo communicate across the stage as well, and Tom was shouting across the stage to Dan.
Yeah, and then you come back to the teamwork. Like we touched on the Americans went 1, 2, 3 in the first stage.
Yeah.
They backed off the back. They had a plan. They went in, and even the women's race. I was talking to Lisa this morning because I stood there at the start with a smile on my face, and Lisa's standing right there, and Lisa's like 400 meters out. Here's Lisa flat out on the front. And I'm like, oh, Lisa, what are you doing? And then it dawned on me, she's leading out her teammates. And like, that's a fun aspect of it as well. And you're out there with no teammates, and hopefully we get a bit more.
But that's all
from
part
Australia
of it.
next year.
hopefully we do, but they all deserve to have their teammates there because they
Yeah.
qualified,
Yeah.
and so that's all part of it.
One of the things early on when working with the UCI, and when we wanted to put this plan in action, where we went semi-final through federations, so that was your quota into the final, they were concerned that we would end up with 18 people from one nation, right? And it wouldn't turn out to be a true world championship. And I was like, well, do we want to run that risk? And so it was a decision we made early on that we could get, it had come out of that, the top 20 in the world would be there, not the top picked people from federations. So I think that decision actually created the backbone of what we ended up with. I really do, because we didn't just have nominated riders, we had the best 20 in the world on stage, proven in a race to get there.
Yep.
And
there are team elements of the event, but it's certainly not the biggest advantage in the world in that format, having teammates around. There are little things you can do that can help out, but it's certainly not a massive difference maker. I wouldn't have said.
No, it was cool. It was fun. And Kate, so sitting in the crowd there, you're watching Josh. Are you nervous? Are you like what's going on? Are you watching what's happening at the front of the race? Are you concentrating on him?
I was actually watching you just on the stage a fair bit, and like your face, and just trying to gauge how much pain you were in, kind of, and like.
And what did you think?
Hang on? And you looked calm through most of it. I think the biggest grimace I saw was when you were trying to keep up with Hayden on the downhill.
Stage 2 hanging on.
I saw 950 watts on one of those descents, which is pretty high for me.
Wow.
So, yeah.
But yeah, it was harder in the third race because you were like out of the top 10, and I couldn't see a lot from actually watching the screen because that was kind of focused on like the top guys. So yeah.
Yeah, there was little pockets of riders all over that course at that stage. But yeah, I mean, you looked like you were working hard, but you also, for me, looked like the rider who was enjoying it the most. You know, hearing you cheer when you picked up them sprint points, and I know you're proper into this sport as well. And
100%.
you know, that's nothing, right? We're moving into a professional. You know, we're moving to a point where riders can take this much more professional. I know we've had James on, and you know, the team next have got a very professional setup. But you've also got sponsors and stuff now to do what you're doing in esports.
Yeah. So Mackay Cycles were good enough to see me and my potential. Kyle runs that up in the north of Australia in Queensland there, and we raced each other at nationals and got talking. And then a couple of months later, he obviously liked what I was doing and said, mate, like we want to support you and how invested you are in esports, and super thankful to those guys, and hopefully with results that I've put on the board this year, hopefully we're showing him that it's worth it as well.
It's funny you say that, because I saw the hat when you came in, Mackay Cycles, and for those people that don't know, from Launceston to Mackay is about as far as from Launceston to Abu Dhabi. So I was thinking, how is that happening? I was thinking, is there a Mackay in Tasmania somewhere?
No, there isn't.
Just touching on that with Abu Dhabi, it's a long way from Tasmania, and I think I said to one of you last night, Tasmania, best place in the world, if only it was 10 degrees warmer. What was it like coming into Abu Dhabi? What have you seen? Was it expectations? You know, James talked about the track last night and at the W Hotel. What did you think?
Yeah,
Kate, what
it's
have you
been unreal. We went to see the mosque today, which was fantastic, and just nice to be somewhere a bit warmer out of it. Coming off the tail end of our winter, but yeah, it's been great.
It's been a bit hard to see everything, but you see, you know, the food and the living, and it's pretty cool. It's really not a great deal different from a lot of Western places around the world now. Yeah,
it's something that hopefully one of us, which will probably mean both of us, get the opportunity to come back if the worlds are here again, and then because we spent a lot of this trip obviously socialising with everyone, so I think next time there's probably more opportunity to go and see some other things that we haven't seen this time.
Yep.
For sure.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a, maybe not rush trip is not the right word, but I think that next year we look at, you know, athletes being maybe around a little bit longer. I think we probably could all, realising how well everyone got on, we should, you know, a bit of a team building exercise is the wrong word, but a get together, but you know, 4 or 5 days out from the event. But yeah, you know, Phil sort of organised all the athletes and have everyone going. He loved that.
Phil was awesome. So helpful to everyone. And I think when we get home, everyone's going to have those post-tour blues.
Yeah.
Like we're all gonna miss it.
I've got them this morning.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Jeff was there. The team. Everyone, everything. I don't know whether I want to do it again though. Si, my hips are gone.
Well, yeah,
my back's gone. Yeah, anyone can. Yeah, I think Phil's, as I said before, Phil's going to get fit, so he doesn't have to go through it again. But I wasn't expecting the pain of what we've been through. I'll be honest, mate.
Yeah, well, honestly, we both cramped up. Right? We going home. Was it Friday night? I think it was. We sat there having a lemonade and. We both. Literally, my hamstring cramped up, and we've not even been on a bike for 3 days. Yeah, I did, just from walking around.
I did 26,000 steps around the Adnec Centre on Friday. So my RM Williams boots held up well for about 18,000 of those, and I was in trouble after that.
I got to go into the comfy kicks, I must say, on Saturday. But I hate to say this, but we've got to do Supertri next. That's the next live event that we're focused on. So
Supertri will be end of March, early April. I'm actually heading up to Neom this weekend to meet with the team and start to plan that out with them. They had their chief operations officer came out and had a look at what we put on. Rob was really impressed with it all, and we partnered with Supertri partnered with us because they just wanted more innovation. They wanted to be able to do something different with what they're doing, and the other platforms are a little bit. Not through wanting to do it, but I think the design of those platforms make those changes difficult for them for not maybe a huge return. Where for us, we have got that ability to be able to customize and create new things and hopefully bring that to the level that, in a little way we've hopefully brought esports cycling to.
Well, I'll tell you the thing I've been thinking. Now we've got these 20 athletes together, or 42 athletes together, that I actually really want to see those 20 guys and 22 women do the elimination race.
I think
now that's there, I really want to see that.
Yeah, I think that a safe bet will be that there will be an elimination stage next year. I've got a little bit of a plan in my head already. I was walking around yesterday thinking, how do we make this work again? I like the 3-stage format. I think the event has to be under an hour long. I think any more than that, and I don't. What I think we need to do, and I'm open to feedback and that from comments from anybody, is we can't have events that have dead time. So you can't be rolling along for 5 or 6K with nothing going on. Look, for Sunday Race Club and things like that, it's different. That is a bike race online a little bit, where this is esports, and that's a little bit, to me, it's a little bit different again. So we need athletes engaged, we need crowd engaged, we need broadcast engaged. So it's always going to be short, sharp, under an hour. I'm thinking elimination. I've got some ideas.
I'm thinking we do. If you guys are up for it, we'll do a elite elimination special in the run up to Christmas. I know you've all got busy racing schedules at this winter or summer, wherever you are, but I think it'd be really cool. And I'll get you on the Discord as well and get them all on the broadcast from home this time, and just run a one-off elimination special on one of the shorter routes.
I'm definitely keen.
We can't say too much, but we've got some new routes coming out, which hopefully new world, should I say, hopefully towards the end of the year. And I know there are some really short, cool routes there, or routes as some people say. And
I can't wait to see that, because I've actually had nothing to do with that one. So you guys have brought that whole world to life. And so when it gets released, I think that'll probably be the first time I ride it as well. So I've seen the artwork though.
You rode it when it had no artwork.
Yes. Okay.
I've ridden it recently. Now the artwork is finished. Okay. And what amazed me is I made a suggestion last week. Can we get this new route in shorter? And the next day the team said, can you test it today?
So are we allowed to say it's Japan? It is Japan.
Well, technically you're the boss, and technically you just said it.
But it is Japan though, yeah?
It is Japan.
Yeah, okay, it is Japan.
So whether that gets edited or not, who knows? Yeah. But we'll see if we can leave that in or not. But guys, thank you to all three of you for joining today's show. Absolutely super. And thank you for putting on such an entertaining show on Saturday night. And hopefully, as you said, we get to meet again somewhere next time for the UCI World Championships.
Oh, thanks for having all of us. Yeah.
Brilliant. Awesome. Thanks, guys. That's it for this episode of Inside the Ride by MyWhoosh. We've got some exciting episodes coming up with you know who, 2 very special athletes in the next couple of weeks. So keep an eye out for that, and we'll see you again soon.
On this journey we'll guide us here, don't be shy.